These people are very rare. They have always been there and always will be. They live on different continents and pray to different gods. But they all have abilities that are beyond explanation. Their words are prophetic. Their undertakings sometimes contradict the laws of physics. Our project is about them, the mysterious chosen ones, the people of knowledge.
Guatemala. On the surface, it seems like a typical Latin American country, with Aboriginals comprising the majority of its population. Most of the people here live modest lives, if not struggle on the edge of poverty. Wealthy Guatemalans, mostly of European descent, are not a common sight. Tourist routes lie through the time-tested places with clusters of hotels, and a rare traveler strays out of those areas. The pride of Guatemala is the cultural heritage of the Mayan civilization. Pyramids and hieroglyphs, the calendar predicting the end of the world, the tragic demise of civilization, brightly colored fabric, and the climate of everlasting spring. That's the standard package for an outsider. But the picturesque mask of smiling Guatemala hides a twilight world full of mysticism, archaic beliefs, and practices. Guatemala is a country with incredibly rich traditions of spirituality. It should be mentioned that 80% of its population are indigenous peoples, and they maintain their traditions that date back to the ancient times. Furthermore, in the 16th century, Spaniards came here, bringing European mysticism with them. There's also a part of the population called Garifuna who have African background. All these African religions have blended into modern mystical rituals and ceremonies. And that's not to mention the traditional Catholic Church or multiple modern cults that originated in Protestant dominations. It is even difficult to tell if it's a cult or something else. But despite the fact that people give their money to these Protestant cults, when they get in trouble, when something personal happens, when something dramatic and complicated happens, they go to local ancient magicians. Ancestral practices dominate the minds of indigenous Maya and Quiche population to such an extent that there's a whole parallel spiritual space of magical realism. We know it from novels written by Asturias and Marquez. Moreover, there's a completely real parallel government functioning in this country. Aboriginal Guatemalan communities collaborate with local authorities through their elders, caciques who report the needs of their people to governmental agencies and deal with different social issues in their village councils. Surprisingly, the trust bestowed upon them of supernatural origin, as caciques are authorized to hold negotiations with the other, the magical world.
It's a gift that we keep and pass on since ancient times, our ability to guide. That's why our people seek our support in any situation. We always help a person to find his way, whatever that might mean. But first and foremost, to find their place in this world and to fix things that went wrong in his life. To do that, we create a link between a person and his Nagual. We are spiritual guides.
Small Maya Carlos Aguilar is an orphan. Everything he knows in life is limited to orphanages and foster homes. Some are worse than others, but it's where he can get food, medical treatment, education, and a profession. In Guatemala, though, losing parents at an early age is more than a social or even psychological problem.
I am here to wait till it gets dark. And in the morning, I have to go far away. I hope to find magicians that would tell me my past. It's just that. I don't know who my parents are.
Yo no sé quiénes son mis padres.
To find magicians, Carlos ran away from an orphanage under the care of an Orthodox monastery, located on the lake of Amatiltian, next to the Ciudad de Guatemala, the capital of Guatemala. The kids snuck several corn flatbreads, traditional Mayan bread, a small stock of basic food, a central tool, machete, from the kitchen, and then hid in a deserted house. However creepy this place doesn't seem to make him lonely or scared, even though he left behind the few people who treated him with love and patience. The abbess and the head of monastery security make the whole list of people he considers his friends. Carlos believes that children in the orphanage hate him, and he is angry at them. The only creature he's missing is Coyote, a dog he rescued from the lake. The boy is very sullen, and he doesn't talk to anyone, as if afraid of opening up to a hostile world. I think Carlitos has a genius inside. He is a very talented boy, but this evil genius makes him do terrible things. When he is hanging around other boys, he comes up with ideas that no one else would think of. And for the most part, they are evil tricks and mischief. If only these were good deeds. But who is this evil genius sensed in the small Maya by the kind nun? And why doesn't Christian schooling help in getting rid of him? And finally, why does the boy need magicians? The answer lies in the history of his people. It is indeed a local phenomenon. The ancient understanding of the world, almost built into their DNA, demands that the Mayans always know their roots. They always believed in being inseparably connected to their long-gone ancestors. These people created a so-called rebirth formula, according to which the soul of a dead person, after a while, returns back to Earth, reincarnating in its grandchild, great-grandchild, second cousin's nephew, or any other blood-related baby. And these relations with ancestors that count many generations can ultimately be traced back to, putting it in familiar terms, a totem animal or a Nagual. It's an ancestral soul that people of today want to talk to when they have some pressing issues. Because even if you can't solve a problem here, your ancestors out there will definitely take care of it. But you need to get help from a middleman who serves as a link between the two worlds, or find certain spots where you can establish a connection with this dead ancestor. Carlitos has problems that he cannot resolve on his own. But he doesn't trust anyone enough to share the details. Without understanding the reasons behind his bitterness, he knows that it is impossible to live in constant conflict with everyone around him. The orphan believes that he can be helped by ancestors from the other world. But since he doesn't know his background, he also doesn't know who of them he can ask for protection. In order to find his blood relatives and make contact with his Nagual, Carlos set out on a journey to clairvoyant magicians. The boy's dream is to reach Chichicastenango, a town located 140 kilometers northwest of the capital. Up in the highlands, there lives the archaic, magicians of Quiché people. And every native Guatemalan knows that out of all the healers and diviners, the seeing people, Quiché, clairvoyants, belong to the highest caste. They are the ultimate authority in business of communicating with spirits, true people of power. This town baffles visitors with its vibrant colors. Back in the pre-Columbian era, it was a major trading center. After conquering the then rich town, Spaniards built the magnificent Church of Santo Thomas. On the top of the pyramid remains to honor the town patron St. Thomas. Without lifting your eyes, however, you might not recognize it as a Catholic temple. Nowadays, it serves as a venue for rituals and sacrificial offerings performed by indigenous inhabitants and magicians of all sorts. Funerals, weddings, fortune-telling, healing of infants, there's room for everything. And at the same time, and billowing around the stormy sea of a market, the main tourist attraction.
10 apiece, 10 apiece, 10 apiece. Huge discounts, cheap hats.
In many ways, this market is aimed at foreigners. Its central part is hardly anything but souvenirs. But in just 200 meters, the trade takes on a local flavor. Household supplies, seeds, poultry. You might even be asked if you need it for eating or sacrifice. After all, spirits don't care whether turkey is chewy or not. Women bake traditional maize bread right on the street, and they are selling like hotcakes.
Miss, can I have more of the blue ones?
Despite the serious nature of his goal, Carlos cannot risk bizarre temptations and starts spending whatever savings he's got.
Vanilla ice cream. In a cone? Do you want syrup on it?
The boy had a stroke of luck. Right there on the street, he ran into those he was looking for. Ake, or the seeing people, Kaik, were heading to the cemetery for a regularly performed ceremony and have asked Carlos to join them to deal with his question. A cemetery is a traditional place for performing various rituals. Mayans bury their dead, believing that the dead man's soul becomes free after flesh has fully decomposed. A burial site has a special status. It is believed to be a place of power. Silent like a graveyard makes no sense here. Rituals amidst graves are performed on a daily basis. Some address spirits on their own without asking a special person to forward requests to higher powers and inform of their response. Either they don't have enough money for such a message, registered mail with delivery notification, or they simply don't need a reply.
Don't worry, the things will turn around. Look, Don Jose and Don Manuel are here already. Welcome to the House of Ancestors.
Carlos is scared. Everything he's heard from his teachers, all the scary stories told by the other kids, are becoming a part of his life. The seeing people put his mind at rest by explaining the ceremony.
First, we need to greet the ancestors.
An important moment of the ceremony. Don Jose touches the boy with his holy bundle, thus creating a link between him and his ancestors. The bundle ritual might have come from the mythological times described in Popol Vuh, a book of Quiche narratives. Before dying, the parents of the first Quiche bequeathed a so-called bundle of greatness, a symbol of their nature, to their sons. Enclosed in it is the power of ancestors, and only the chosen ones can own it, passing it on through generations. What is wrapped inside is a carefully guarded secret.
And now we are going to ask Achao, the forefather of our tribe, to help you find your way in life.
Addressing the boy's most important question about his parents, Don Jose gently replies that they can't be found in the world of the living. But he assures Carlos that his spiritual mother is waiting for him and he has to go back to her. Later, the clairvoyant says a very odd thing.
His blood connections are like a net, all knots and tangles, so following them, he will get even more confused. His Nagual is bad, but Naguals can be changed. It requires work. He would have to work with his new Nagual every day. He has to make a connection with him, but it's something only he will know about.
Europeans usually struggle with understanding the concept of Nagual. It pertains to a realm of magical realism, which is not something we have frequent contact with. On one hand, Nagual means forebear, a totem animal that protects and guards a person. On the other hand, it's a person's guise in another world, his soul. That's why you cannot tell anyone who your Nagual is. Otherwise, you run a danger of losing your soul. Since several family generations can have the same Nagual, it seems that some relative might have ruined Carlos's fortune with his reckless behavior.
Fire tells us what's happening to a person. Its four sides are aligned with four cardinal directions and reflect a person's well-being. On the southern side, the yellow one, fire destroyed everything immediately. It means that the boy doesn't have a will to live. But we talk to his ancestors, and he's going to get better. They will make him stronger, and in time he will get back on the right track. That's what we ask the Ahau spirit for. But at the moment, Carlitos needs support, and he has to undergo another 2 rituals.
At a distance, the boy is waiting for Don John to finish the conversation with ancestors. The clairvoyant and the spirits talk via smoke and fire. By dying out, the fire sends a clear sign that the requests have been heard and will be fulfilled. Now it's time for Kaik and Carlos to part their ways. They already have a mystical connection between them through Nagual, to which the seeing people will continue talking, but the boy was given a task that will make him feel the power of the newly acquired patron. Carlos's journey turned out to be much longer than he expected. Previously, he didn't even think about what would happen after he meets magicians, and now he has a goal. He has to receive first-hand spiritual experience in the places where his ancestors have been coming for mystical contact with ancestral spirits since the dawn of time. Guatemala is a tiny country. Nevertheless, it is believed to have a lot of so-called places of power. The way Europeans see it, it is a place where you come, wave your hands around, and have the energy of the universe pour into you. It's not about that. It's about feeling the presence of this inexplicable, universal, spiritual energy, not the power as we understand it. And naturally, some of these places of power are archaeological sites. Because in ancient times, people knew how to make proper calculations and find the places that have an influx of the spiritual energy. That's why every archaeological site becomes a place of power. Quirigua. The first settlement appeared here back in the 2nd century BC, growing into the capital city several centuries later. Its inhabitants were mining jade and obsidian in the vicinity, growing sacred cocoa, and maize crops alone were enough to make neighbors jealous. Under the tight control of kings, all these commodities were exported to adjacent states, and the city flourished. The economic success opened the door for science and art to develop. And thanks to the extraordinary mathematicians, astronomers, and of course craftsmen, that the inscriptions on gigantic stelae with images of kings have survived to this day. After deciphering these texts, researchers obtained one of the most thorough sources of Mayan history. Although Carlitos isn't aware of these historical facts, for the first time in his life, he starts feeling some deep connection to distant ancestors. Looking in the stone eyes, exploring the now empty field for ball games, he understands the reason behind these constructions and almost sees the long-gone people. The ancient city relieves Carlos of some of its problems and revitalizes him, but it's not time for childish games yet.
You have to move on.
Volcanoes were sacred for Mayans. They were even referred to with the same words as God. And the Quiché people believed volcanoes to be a female deity that competes with the sky by ejecting fire and smoke out of the underworld. Red-hot splashes and scarlet lava that turns brownish after flowing down the slopes reminded people of an ancient ritual, a blood sacrifice.
I'm tired.
Pacaya is an active volcano. Local people often come to it to talk to the spirits. But staying here is hard. High humidity, burning smell coming from the scorched earth, and the all-permeating volcanic ash wear Carlos out. Nonetheless, he's trying to get as close as possible to the entrance of the world of the dead, where he can let go of that part of himself that doesn't allow him to live.
That's the fire of the world of the dead. And you have a lot of life fire in you. It needs to be strengthened.
Pacific Coast. It's open for everyone, and no matter how busy or tired you are, even with no desire to swim in these delusively calm waters, local people come here whenever they can. That's what Mayans have been doing for thousands of years, believing that the ocean is life-giving. It's called Fiery Lake in their language, and according to ancient beliefs, unlike a regular lake, the ocean is always full of life and movement. Even the deathly blood of volcanoes, lava, ultimately degrades into black sands upon reaching the ocean. Splashing waves filled with sunlight are equal to ritual smoke. They catch the eye of the gods and make them aware of people's requests. Mayans have always lived in between two oceans, watching the sun rise over the Atlantic and set behind the Pacific. Indigenous tribes thought of the ocean as a symbol of new life being born. After all, the sun itself was coming out of it. And by descending into waves, it reminded that staying in the world of the dead would not last forever, and a reincarnated soul would ultimately return to the world of living.
To make contact with your Nagual, you have to go through one more ceremony with another seen one.
Finding a person of power is an impossible task, only in the tiny European world of today. But in the world where people sincerely believe in constant connection to distant ancestors, in the magical realism of Guatemala, it is an easy job, even for a child. Obviously, no one puts up an ad for that. Responding to an ad will only get you to a charlatan, no matter what country you are in. But the word of mouth keeps this memory alive, the genetic memory, as they say now, about the ever-present seeing ones. These people might be completely indistinguishable from the rest of the population, and only local inhabitants know who you can seek assistance from, who is a powerful magician and who is a weak one, who is a bungler, and who can really help you with your specific issue. It's like one is good and healing, another one deals with your destiny, and a third one can help you feel as part of the community. Carlos was referred to Donna Marta. Her specialty is cleansing and strengthening the life force. And her whole household is living proof of that. Even these flowers. See how beautiful it is. Pure velvet. Velvet. I accidentally spilled some seeds, and look how tall they are now. All sorts of dogs and cats, snakes and pigeons, turtles and raccoons. This variety can easily make you lose track of things, especially considering that these animals are anything but smelly. Are you hungry? Here you go. Oh no, you cannot let him out. If he gets loose, he starts killing chickens. He's going to eat so many of them before we catch him. Even the pig that has been refusing to marry for many years is sparkling clean. She definitely had her breakfast, a proper one. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, this one has everything on schedule. This abundance of living creatures doesn't come solely from the affectionate nature of the hostess. Pragmatic considerations are also at play here. The animals relieve Donna Marta of all evil and illnesses that she receives from those who she helps. Everything goes down on me. Without the animals, I would have died long ago. Everyone with a gift should get themselves many, many animals. My chickens take most of the fall, and that's why they die fast. But you shouldn't eat them. Under no circumstances. No. I bury them deep in the ground so that no animal or bird can eat them either. After showing off her chubby pet, her name is Marta Julia, same as me. Donna Marta goes to her room that looks more like a cave teeming with treasures or a local history museum. Here you could find everything from stuffed animals and portraits of heroes to dolls and saint figurines. The woman has been living here ever since she left her husband. Incidentally, the husband lives in the same house, upstairs. Donna Marta is mocking him. He lives upstairs with his girl. She is 24. I am 65 already. I say let him have his fun while he can. It's time for Donna Marta to change and add some indispensable ritual amulets to her costume. She's ready to start the ceremony. Carlos Aguilar. This holy morning, we are asking our spiritual brothers to rid you of all evil. Donna Marta's ceremony is a whimsical mix of a Catholic mess, appeals to Mayan gods, and African rituals. Her altar compromises of all the best as well: Buddha statues, a North American Indian image, and various figurines, amply decorated with beaded necklaces. The witch gets into a state that makes her capable of talking to the higher powers. She creates a magical ring of smoke that conducts energy between the boy and gods. There's no need for words now, and it looks like Carlos starts seeing something in the spurts of flame. He looks terrified and literally gets chills. Quickly, bring me the red prayer beads. He's afraid. He's cold as ice. Don't look away, or it won't work. Donna Marta is waiting for spiritual brothers to reply, but the higher powers are not in a hurry to respond. The witch is coaxing the fire. Father, give us a sign. We need a sign. Thank you. Thank you. Please make Carlo Aguilar free of all evil. Oh, you start warming up already. Don't turn away your eyes. Everything bad is gonna stop now. You can do it, Carlos. You can do everything with your life. The only thing left is to wait until the fire devours everything in it. All candle holders have to break, all candles to burn down. Considering that the higher powers came to a favorable decision, it takes a lot of time for the fire to die out. Something or someone is messing with Carlos' request and is not letting go of the boy. Go away, the evil spirit that calls for death. Go wherever you want. Leave the boy alone. He's only 11. He can take a good path. Leave the world of people altogether. People are supposed to live. Spiritual brothers, make the good spirit of Carlos stronger. I see how weak he is. He's so weak. Help the boy. Drive the evil spirit away.
His Nagual is bad, but Naguals can be changed.
The evil spirit, the bad Nagual, has a tight grip on the child. Even the family of Donna Marta, used to everything, watches the unabated fire in silent awe. The witch starts helping the fire to prevail over the things that embody the presence of evil. Donna Marta decided to act through the child himself. Carlos is almost paralyzed with fear when the last candle holder finally breaks and the bad Nagual gives in.
She talked to me and drove the evil spirit away. She says I have to move on.
The witch herself has also had a rough time. Later, she would almost faint and discover that her blood sugar level went through the roof. Nevertheless, after recovering, she goes into explaining her practices. I drove away the evil spirit of Carlos Aguilar. That's what we needed the fire for. And it was a shabby fire. If it was bigger, the process would have been faster. But the boy's an orphan. Where would he get money? So I decided to help him just like that for free. Usually these fires are expensive, 2,000 or 3,000 quetzal. 3,000 quetzal is about 165 euros. A huge chunk of the price goes to cover consumables: candles, candle holders, cigars, ritual alcohol, rum and whiskey, flower essences, everything for a stable connection with spirits. Considering the poverty of the majority of Guatemalans, whose monthly salary can be as small as 1/10 of this price, no wonder Donna Marta is somewhat proud of her gift, although she's made plenty of those in her lifetime. I started treating others when I was 8. I started treating kids in my neighborhood from sniffles and upset stomach, from flu and evil spirits. Donna Marta never studied how to talk with spirits. What she calls a gift is something she was born with, a legacy from her mother, who was a healer. And the trial of power, traditional for the chosen ones, started for her at an early age. It was her mother who put the girl through a terrible ordeal. My mom told me that, when I was very little, they left me in a rainforest as a test. And God wanted me to live. I was found 18 hours later. Naturally, I got sick. Later, I suffered through a lot, too. When I was about 14, I started having seizures that continued for another 12 years until I fully devoted myself to this work. However astonishing this treatment of a child might seem to us, it's completely normal for people of power. Those who are destined to become one of them might discover supernatural abilities and a special connection to the other world, even in their infancy. Physical sufferings are also a direct indication that a person is meant to help others. It's been 40 years now since Donna Marta started to perform her cleansing ceremonies, talking to the spiritual brothers whose voices are familiar to her from the early age. She's well known in neighboring towns, and recently she was even invited to another country, El Salvador. That's how far the fame of her powers have spread. The woman is eager to explain how Christian saints and amulets help her, but she starts feeling worse by the minute. Fixing Carlos's destiny has been really tough on her. She pays with her own health for the well-being of others. Carlos can now return to the orphanage. He's now completely certain that everything is going to work out for the best. Although he is somewhat apprehensive of the moment of return, no way this escape is getting him a pat on the back. The life in the monastery goes on according to schedule. Lessons are followed by outdoor games and then lunch. The refectory is surprisingly quiet. Making noise or playing pranks wouldn't even leave the kids without dessert, but many of them have experienced starvation, so they treat food with the utmost respect. As the evening draws near, Carlos builds up enough courage to set foot into the monastery. It's the evening prayer time, and the child justly assumes that approaching the abbess, Mother Inés, is the easiest way to go. Indeed, it is not likely that she would scold him for the fact that the police and the monastery security searched high and low for him. But of course, the boy wouldn't find out how many prayers were delivered for his safe return. We are going to sing to the Virgin Mary. But first, we're going to ask for forgiveness. Get over here. Kids, make room for Carlos. Bless me, sisters and brothers. Forgive me for all my sins, for everything I've done today in my thoughts, words, deeds, and feelings. Pray for me, the sinner that I am. Explaining the runaway and receiving a reprimand are not to be avoided. Meanwhile, the rest of the children are waiting impatiently to see how the situation with Carlos will be resolved. He's always been a source of trouble for everyone, but this time he broke all possible and impossible rules. The abbess swiftly brings the situation under control. So Carlos honestly promises to behave well from now on and to be a good boy. This is a manly decision, so let's all welcome it. What happens next is probably the most unexpected thing for this gloomy boy. The children seem to be genuinely happy to have him back and believe that he has changed. Having completed a long journey and endured the test assigned by the seeing people, Carlos is now embracing his new nature. Still, Carlos didn't manage to find out who his real parents are and where he should look for them. None of the clairvoyants he met were able to give the boy this answer. It might be also that they saw something they didn't want to talk about, same as Abbess Inés, who knows the sad truth. Policemen recovered Carlos from a certain woman. It turned out that his mother sold him for further adoption. He was brought into the church at 3 months old, seriously sick and malnourished. The birth rate here is so high that it's difficult to estimate how many babies are left by their mothers. At times, we have a new child every single week. When we don't know what has happened to these mothers, or we know it all too well, we tell the children that their mother has died. Carlos will always live with this knowledge about his mother. But it would have been better if he didn't know that. The challenging everyday life led by the population of this Latin American country is hidden from prying eyes. Its mystical side is protected even more carefully. But it might be that this traditional and magical perception of reality has allowed locals to survive for many centuries and to keep hoping for a better future. What matters is having the people who can assist them in talking to ancestral spirits and weave a heavenly rope, a thread of life that connects the past and the future. To prevent losing it and to find their Nagual, Guatemalans would always seek help from the seeing people. The people of power. A month after our camera crew had returned from Guatemala, we received a letter from Mother Inés. You wouldn't believe how Carlitos has changed. It's as if he was replaced by some other boy. I cannot say that I miss that old boy. God only knows what really happened to him, but we hope that it will stay this way forever. I'm forwarding you the report of Carlos's school teacher.
Carlos Aguilar. I was surprised by the rate at which he makes up for the lost time. He shows huge progress in math and is diligent in doing his lessons. He takes care of his workplace, he's tidy and organized. He made friends with many other students.
I think reading this will give you as much pleasure as it gave me.